And the first lightning talk we've got is from Naomi Smith, who is from, so we're now going down south again, the University of West London. Brilliant. And that's a lightning talk, Don't Touch My Hair, and hopefully about 6 minutes, as I say. And then we've got a lightning talk from Rachel Branson, who's from Northumbria University, and she's going to be looking at student publishing as a learning tool. So first of all, Naomi, I can see you're on and ready to roll, so over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I can't see my screen at all. I can just see the names of people. So I don't know if there's something wrong with my Zoom, but if
Right. I don't know. I think you should, I think there should be, it should have been shared with you, the screen, so that you can operate it. I don't know if there's some
Nobody.
technical...
Naomi was going to share her own screen
I can,
for this one.
can you
right.
see the screen?
Yes.
We
Oh,
can.
perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Right, over to you.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name is Naomi, and today I'm going to be discussing some research I participated in and organized regarding hair microaggressions. Just a warning, this presentation may be quite triggering because it may be that through exploring microaggressions, you may realize that perhaps you have committed a microaggression against somebody. This is not a presentation to invoke guilt or shame. This is hopefully an empowering presentation. More of my work and more of this work that the study on microaggressions will be available for you to read from September. It will be published in the Stolen Tools Decolonial Journal, which is open access. So I'm just going to share kind of summaries because I don't have long. But really, when you read my article in September, the main argument, and this is based from the data that I collected for this work, I sent out a survey to librarians who identify as Black and female librarians, asking them about their experiences of hair microaggressions. We are going to get into definitions in the next slide. But what this work showed me is to be included in a space is not the same as having agency and worth within that space. So I think this is going to create, I'm not going to say shockwaves in the library sector because I don't want to be over dramatic, but it's going to really disrupt the diversity framework that is used in libraries, that is championed by, CILIP and other organizations, because I'm showing that, okay, we may have more demographic representation in staff, but that doesn't actually address the racial inequity and racial experiences in the library profession, as I discuss more. So just to kind of define microaggressions, because I appreciate that we're all at different stages of unlearning and learning when it comes to this type of, you can call it racial work, social justice, decolonial work. So a microaggression is defined as these kind of unintentional, mostly, behaviors that highlight negative behavior, negative perspectives towards marginalized people. Some microaggressions I've personally heard, I've heard somebody who they had a hidden disability and they were told, oh, but you don't look disabled, which invalidated them. I heard somebody recently say that they were at a wedding from India and there were quote unquote weird customs. You know, these words potentially come out accidentally, but really, I want to really emphasize the impact that this words, behaviors, actions can have. Death by 1,000 cuts can really help to explain the impact of microaggressions. And I do talk about this in more depth in the article that we published in September by Stolen Tools. The form of microaggressions I personally have experienced and do really go into depth in the article are hair microaggressions. Hair microaggressions can be defined as people touching my hair, people making comments about my hair. And why I want to highlight that hair microaggressions, they're not isolated experiences. They're actually really, unfortunately, a reflection of historical oppression and continued social oppression, specifically against Black women. I wanted to highlight how there's perhaps
Stop
no
you just for a minute, Naomi. Everybody's very keen to see your slides, and at the moment they're not being presented. Would you be able to click on the present? And
Oh, sorry.
it's all right. I didn't want to stop you because you've
I'm
been
so
flowed.
sorry. The
I'll give you an
technology's not
extra
working.
minute.
The technology's
Okay.
not working. Did you see?
Can you
Oh,
click that little bit that says present? Does that work?
it's saying your screen sharing is paused. Resume share.
If it's helpful, shall I share your screen, my screen with your slides on, if I
Oh,
can?
could you
Yeah.
please?
Let me
I'm
just.
so we
No.
practiced this earlier and
Yeah.
it was all flowing. Apologies to the audience.
All
It's
right. I didn't really want to stop you because I was listening. I could see lots of messages coming through saying, "Can we see her
Yeah.
slides?"
Let me
just
get your presentation. I've got it open just in case. I've got everything open just in case.
Thank you.
So let me do that.
I was on the third slide, if that helps. I appreciate I can't really start from the beginning.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to share this. Sorry. So hopefully, and you're on the third slide. So
Perfect. So this was the title page. Don't touch my head. This was the definition of microaggressions. If you move to the next slide, this is what I was talking about, how why we can't see hair touching or comment as these isolated experiences. And I was highlighting how we can link this to wider issues. So I wanted to highlight in the 19th century this sad story, a very famous story about Sarah Bartman. She was an African woman from South Africa who was basically put into human zoos in Europe because she was born with a body disfigurement, which made her very curvaceous. But from a European gaze, especially from the male gaze, she was fetishized, her body. Her body was touched. And that element of touching without agency is where I draw parallels with hair microaggressions, where my hair is often touched without agency, without being asked. And that was very much the experience of other Black librarians I interviewed. If you move on to the 20th century, this idea of the Black is Beautiful political movement, which was created in America and also was present in the UK to really challenge the ideology of racism, ideology which created this Eurocentric hierarchy of human worth. When it came to appearance, you'd really see this again with hair microaggressions in the sense of Black hair. When I say Black hair, the hairstyles of Black women are often seen as not the norm, which is why they invite people commenting or touching. And that really goes back to what is the norm and how the norm is defined from a Eurocentric perspective. And in the 21st century, so Dove, the brand, the beauty brand, they launched basically awareness about racial discrimination and how Black women are 2 times more likely to be seen as having a quote unquote unprofessional hairstyle. And that can be the hairstyle I have, locks, twists, just different natural hairstyles, which really, again, kind of highlight this underlying problem, which goes back to systemic racism, unfortunately. If you can move to the next slide, please. Now, I haven't put all the quotes in that I received, all the data, because I want you to read my article, but some things that I thought were worth just highlighting. One comment, "Oh, you have new hair now. It looks so different. It reminds me of my dog's hair. She went to feel it." This is what happened to a Black librarian in a library. I too have had my hair be said, somebody said, "Oh, your hair reminds me of my dog's hair." Why that's very problematic is because we remember how when it came to European enslavement, the justification was the fact that Africans were seen as subhuman. They weren't seen as human. They were seen as equivalent to animals and even less. So again, being referred to as an animal, as you can see historically, is very problematic. This second quote, "I know how you must feel when I was at primary school. Little boys used to pull my pigtails." this was actually said to me personally by a library manager when I was telling her that I'm participating and organizing this research on hair microaggressions. For me, this is very problematic because, with all due respect, as a cisgender white woman, you have no idea what it feels like to be marginalized. You don't know what it feels like. And these are not little boys in a playground touching my hair. My hair is touched in the library, in my work, by grown adults, by my colleagues. So it's not the same. And this is a comment that I really saw a lot of, this last comment. I feel permanently under a microscope. This idea of if you come in with a new hairstyle or any small change, it just invites comment, it invites discussion where it's just this idea of you feel under a microscope, and taken back into that Sarah Bartman, the idea of being under a human zoo, this idea of being a source of fascination, which otherizes you. It makes you feel different in the workplace. So we move on to the last slide because I'm aware that I've gone over time. You could just go to the, oh, sorry, could you just go back to the next slide quickly? Just to highlight that I will be sharing this presentation on Twitter, make it open access so you can read through all of this. But I would just really encourage you to, you know, don't let this be just one other presentation in today's agenda. You know, we are going to listen to some great presentations, but I would say, you know, when it comes to microaggressions, this is not just something I can leave at the end of this presentation. This is something that is lived reality 24/7. So I'd really encourage people to, you know, reflect how they can commit to regularly developing their decoloniality, how they can support intersectional human rights inside and outside of the library, because as I've hopefully shown, these do have links with what is happening in wider society, and how we can all work as an organization and as a sector to really amplify voices. In my article, which is coming out in September, like I said, I will discuss more in depth why I've specifically chosen scholarly activism, like listen to those voices rather than just saying listen to all marginalized voices, because unfortunately, as we see in today's government and elsewhere in society, there are people who have a marginalized identity, you can say, but who still have problematic views. So the last slide, I'd just like to thank you for your attention. And if you are interested in this, you can follow me on Twitter, Naomi L.A. Smith. I also run a critical librarianship Instagram, Black and Gold Education. And like I said, this was a lightning talk, but I really do go more in depth in the article that's coming out. And I really encourage you to look at Stolen Tools. It's a great open access decolonial journal, and that's where the article will be published in September. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Naomi.